Hi. Okay. All right. We are here. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So let's get everything together, get the mood right. It is a busy Monday evening. I hope you all are well. And welcome, welcome, welcome to 15 Minutes with Veronica. And we are going to just give people a few minutes to log in. And we're going to get this going. I have some great questions that people have submitted. So I am excited to just see what other questions come in. And if you are catching this in the replay, uh, thank you for watching. And if you're catching this live, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. All right, let's go. All right. Thank you. And so today I am going to be looking at questions that have been submitted. So for people who submitted questions and you feel like I haven't answered your question yet, I just want you to know I have all the questions here. I am not ignoring you. I am literally trying to make sure I get all the questions laid out so I can get to the new questions that have been submitted. All right. So please thank you for your patience. And let's see what we get going tonight. All right. All right. So I just want to share a funny story. I always tell people I'm a professional faller, and that means that I fall a lot and I fall often. So last week I shared with y'all how I fell and ended up injuring my foot. Well, this today, literally today, I'm walking in a house, only had like an ounce of coffee in my cup. And guess what happened? Yep, I spilled coffee. I spilled coffee everywhere. I'm just grateful that I did not fall. And so that is a beautiful thing. So, yes, I am a professional faller and I have to monitor when I'm walking because I will literally trip and fall over air. And thank you for your sympathy, Kyle. I appreciate it, especially because you're usually the person who has to catch me when I fall. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna get people a couple of more minutes and then we're gonna get ready and get started. So give me one moment. 'Cause I know you've been here. I forgot to send out the alerts today. So this is why it's so important, right, to have your notifications on because sometimes I will forget to remind people to log in. But that is okay because I love the fact that you all can watch it later and then watch it on the replay and interact and things then. Okay. So let's get this going. Let me get to the first question. So, this question, and I said, yeah, always remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification. So, I got this question here, and I said I might just use this for a longer video. But the question is, can you explain what emotional intelligence is and why it's important to us? So, what I'm doing now is just telling people certain questions. I will have to. I will have to answer in a longer video because certain questions cannot be answered right away, like in this moment. So I'm going to do that in, sorry, y'all, someone is contacting me. So I'm going to do that in a longer video. Okay. So let's get to the next question. So, what is the next question? Okay. So, the next question is, I have outgrown my bestie. What should I do? Hmm. So, okay, so here on 15 Minutes with Veronica, we usually try to keep the answers straight to the point, right? And so, If you're not following my YouTube, please follow me on YouTube, Hood and Holistic 90220. Like, follow, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Okay. So the question is, I think I've outgrown my bestie. What should I do? You already know what to do. If you feel like you've outgrown your bestie, I want you just to examine, what does outgrown mean to you, right? Do you feel that your interests no longer align, that you all don't have anything in common? Does the conversation feels forced? Do you feel that she is shading you, or he or they are shading you, right? When you're looking at adult friendships, they can get complicated. So if you feel like you've outgrown your bestie, right? I want you just to reflect and sit back and think about, what is it about this person that you feel you no longer are connecting with or connecting to? And do you feel that you just need to recategorize them, right? So I did a video on this page, and what I looked at is, what about your friends? Because we have friends for different reasons, for different seasons. So let's say, for instance, you have a friend, right? You all are close, but then things change. You might have gotten married, you might have had children, and this person may still be single, whatever the case may be. So you all may still be considered friends, but you may realize that the time you spent together, do things together, it has changed. So now, guess what? You might have to just make that person your associate. And so we want to look at, how do people show up in our lives and how do we place them. So we have associates, we have acquaintances, and we have friends. So I always want you to remember, you categorize people based on their position in your life. If you no longer feel like y'all vibing like that, what you want to do is say, hey, you know what? My life is different. I'm on a different type of time. Let me just move you over here, right? Because now that adjusts the expectations you have for this person. So, yes, this person may have been your bestie when you were in high school, but you're a full grown ass adult. And so the relationship might look different. And so, what I want you to think about is, how do I repurpose this person in my life? All right. So, for the person who sent this question in, what I want you to do is just reflect, right? Look at your circle now, and then say, hey, maybe I'm not going to do as many things with this person, right? And move them to the side. But if you really feel like it's one and done, have the conversation. It's nothing worse than being ghosted by somebody, especially somebody you feel is your friend or that you have a connection with. So if you feel like this person is no longer in your spirit, just say, hey, you know what, I notice things are different between us, and I love you, and let's just see where things take us. I might not contact you as much. I just want you to be honest with people. There's nothing worse than being friends with somebody and then they ghost you, especially if you thought that you all were rocking together and they just ghost you. Okay, so if whoever sent that in, reflect on relationships, see if you need to repurpose them, and then recategorize them in your life. They can now move from friend to associate, and maybe one day they move from associate to acquaintance. Okay. So whoever sent that in, I hope that was helpful. All right. So the next question is, how do I handle mental health in the workplace? So this person is asking, how do I handle my mental health diagnosis in the workplace? So this is a tricky one, right? Because I don't know if you heard about the queen who shared that she had mental health concerns, and that she eventually ended up being bullied by her colleagues, and then she ended up unaliving herself. So when you're looking at your mental health in the workplace, I want you just to think about, who do I need to tell and why do I need to tell this person? Do you need to tell them for safety concerns? Do you need to tell them because you might have to have appointments and take time off from work? Like, what is the reason that you feel that you need to tell these people these things, right? And or do you need special accommodations, right? So I want you just to think about why you feel this part you need to share. If it's she Antoinette said, let me reposition some people. If you feel that there are safety concerns involved, or that you need time to regroup, this is the perfect time to share your mental health concern with your employer, mainly just HR and maybe a direct supervisor. If you feel that your job is impacting your mental health, then that is a different concern. And that's where you have to reevaluate if this is the job for you. Is it possible to find another job that's not going to cause you distress? Right. And do you feel that everybody in the workplace needs to know your mental health diagnosis? Now, I always say it is your medical information, it is your private information. You do not have to share that with nobody. But if you feel that it's going to impact your work, then you share. If you feel that it's not going to impact your work, then I want you to decide, who do I need to tell? Why do I need to tell them? And how can I navigate this space with a severe mental health concern that might impact the way that I show up some days, right? This is where you go to HR, you have these conversations. Remember, you are protected by ADA. You are protected by ADA. All right. So that's the American Disabilities Act. You are protected by that. So you do not have to feel that you are going to lose your job because you are protected by ADA. Okay. So I think this might be another one that I go deeper into, because mental health in the workplace, especially after COVID, has become a major, major thing. So we want to look at. I'm gonna do a whole video on that one. So whoever the mental health in the workplace and the emotional intelligence and why it's important, I'm gonna do a longer. But it's not about sessions. So EAP is like when you want to get sessions. They're just talking about people in the workplace knowing that they have a mental health concern. So it's not about they have a therapist, they're getting care, but this question centered around disclosure and also disclosure, and when it's disclosed, show that showing up in the workplace, especially if you're working in a place that is not sensitive to mental health. And be careful, because sometimes mental health agencies say they're sensitive to mental health and you have a mental health concern and they treat you like you've committed a, yeah, Antoinette, yes, it's very tricky. So this is why I want the person to evaluate the why. Like, is it for safety reasons, or is it because they just feel people need to know? When it comes to your mental health, like any other medical concern, unless it's going to impact your work, you really need to just consider why it needs to be disclosed. And then if you need to disclose it, always go to HR first and then maybe your direct supervisor. I don't think all of your colleagues need to know, because sometimes colleagues can use it against you, or they could say, oh, you didn't complete this task because of your depression, or you didn't complete this task because your anxiety is too high. So you never want people to use it against you, because guess what? That could also make your mental health symptoms a little bit worse. So just decide who needs to know and the why. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. What we need to work on our grammar, people. Let me stop. Okay. I think it should be what is. What is the difference between therapists and their degrees? What is the difference between therapists and their degrees? This is a good question, because I get tired of arguing with people when I tell them I have an MSW, which is a master's in social work. I always get people that tell me, "Oh, so you're like a case manager." I did not pay USC all this money to be a case manager. No disrespect to case managers. We love them. They do amazing work. But when we're looking at the different levels of therapists and the degrees, right? So let's look at it like this. So mental health therapists, psychotherapists, it could be used interchangeably, right? So we have our LMFTs, right, which is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And then we have our LPCCs, licensed professional clinical counselor. And then we have our LCSWs, which are licensed clinical social workers, right? And so they all do therapy. When we're looking at the degree program, when we're looking at the MFT program, MA in psychology, they are focusing on marriage, family, children, the whole gamut, right? Um, oh yes, everybody is saying they're a therapist. So if they do not have a master's degree in psychology, or a master's degree in counseling, or a master's in social work, right? That's why we're looking at title protection. So when you get an MA in psychology or MA in counseling, you can be a therapist. So we're looking at the licensed professional clinical counselors, and then we're looking at the LMFTs. If you get a master's in social work, you can do micro or macro work. Micro work is the clinical work. So this is why I do micro and macro, but micro is when I do therapy, macro is when I do more community focused systems type of things, right? And so at the end of the day, they're all therapists. A psychologist, right? They provide therapy and they can also do certain types of testing, right? So you might hear someone say, "Oh, I got referred to a psychologist to get tested for ADHD," right? So psychologists do specific types of testing, and they can also provide clinical care. Psychiatrists, they are medical professional. They're literally medical doctors, and they can prescribe medications. And so a lot of times you might have a psychologist. Some psychologists, if they get that designation, they can prescribe meds as well. But if you have a therapist, your therapist might refer you to the psychiatrist to get medication. And a lot of psychiatrists will not provide you medication unless you're seeing a therapist. All right. So we have our psychiatrists who provide meds, psychologists who provide clinical care and do certain types of clinical testing. And then we have therapists who provide clinical care in the form of therapy. So whoever submitted this, I hope that makes sense. At the end of the day, just go to the person who fits your needs. A lot of times a lot of people call themselves mental health coaches. That is not a therapist. Okay, I've been seeing this a lot, like mental health coaches, life coaches. So let's look at the difference between life coaches and therapists. Because I'm also a life coach, I do both. So when you're looking at life coaches, they are literally just coaching you. So generally, life coaches work with people who are trying to reach specific goals, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, and life coaches do not provide clinical care. Life coaches do not treat you for depression. Life coaches do not treat you for anxiety. Life coaches do not treat you for trauma, right? Now, life coaches, you can work with a therapist and a life coach. So you might work with your therapist on your anxiety. Yes, like a personal trainer, they're just training you to get to your goal, right? So you might work with your life coach because you want to be a better leader, like focus on building up your business or your nonprofit. So you might work with an executive life coach. That person is going to help you be the best version of yourself, but they're focused on you in the leadership business realm. But then you might be working with your therapist on your anxiety, right? Your anxious presentation, even some trauma. You might be working with your therapist on that, right? So now you're working with two different people for two different reasons. And life coaching is not a regulated field, so anyone could call themselves a life coach. Now, if we look at a decolonized approach to all of these things, we're looking at a decolonized approach to all of these things. Because back in the day, before there were degree programs, before there were universities and colleges and things like that. We had the designated elders in the villages, in the tribes that people went to for this type of care, right? So if we're looking at for the colonized approach, you might even have that person in your family who just may not have went to college, but they're that person that you go for wisdom and suggestions or recommendations. So I recognize that, right? Um, and what I want people to understand is the reason why these fields are regulated because sometimes people cause harm to other people, and then that causes the other person to either become put that person in a place of distress. So that's why when it comes to certain things, we just want to make sure that the person has the appropriate training to get things. And some people feel like their experience, like, well, I suffer with depression, so I could be a depressing coach. Yeah, you might suffer depression, so you might understand how it shows up. But we want to be careful because we don't, your experience with depression is not the next person's experience with depression. And so we don't want to harm people by saying, well, when I was going through this is what happened. So just be careful with who you entrust to care for you. You might want to go to a mental health coach. That is your business. I ain't stepping on nobody's money. But just be careful of anybody, therapists, life coaches, whatever, who's providing care for you. Okay. How do you, are there classes to become a life coach? Yes. I actually have uh, a life coaching certification program. So in my life coaching certification program, I train people on how to be effective life coaches and impactful life coaches. And so if you are interested in becoming a life coach, you can send me an email at hello@prosperwithvch.com. And in the show notes, I'll put it in the show notes. So you can sign up for my certification course. It opens up again in May. So I do it in cohorts. So if you're interested in becoming a certified life coach, and my program is certified and credentialed, you can come to me. It is self-paced. It is self-paced. So that means you do it on your time when you have time, but it is broken up on what is life coaching. How do you provide care? How do you not cause harm? What is motivational interviewing? All of those things are included in the curriculum from my life coach certification program. The pastor, your pastor can provide counseling, but right? They usually do couples counseling, things of that nature. But now a lot of pastors are going to get, there's programs where a therapist will work with a pastor to help them provide care. And there are actual therapists who are spiritual therapists. So they go in and get that certification to be a spiritual counselor. So yeah. And like I said, you just use discernment on who you want to provide care for you. All right, y'all. Okay, we got one more question for tonight, and then the rest of the questions we do next week. Okay, how do I find balance in my life? I get this. Y'all send this question a lot. Do I need to do a master class on wellness? How do you find balance in your life? There's no such thing. No such thing as balance. Because if you try to balance things, guess what's going to happen? You overwhelm yourself because the scales are not the same, right? Uh, Internet said we went on the retreat. I'm working on the internet. I'm working on it. But there's no such thing as balance. I hate to tell you that. There's no such thing as balance. What you're looking at is prioritizing tasks. And I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You have to prioritize tasks. Some things will take priority over other things, right? A lot of times when I'm working with clients, a thing that comes up a lot is they feel overwhelmed, they feel stressed, they just feel like they have so much going on. And a lot of times they are not prioritizing tasks and they're not lying out their tasks. What I mean is, if you don't have a planner, right, or even a piece of paper, you do not have to buy a fancy planner. Get a piece of paper and then just write down what your tasks are for that day, right? Or even for the next few days. Because what happens, people have things in their brain and all it does is just circulate, 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 circulate. And they're like, well, do I have to do this? I have to do this. Write it down. Write it down, make it plain. Write it, write it down. Yeah, I have to write stuff down because now you have a visual of what you need to do and it makes it easier to prioritize tasks. So when you're at work, you're prioritizing work when you're at work. When you're with your family, you're prioritizing your family. If you have a schedule, right? Because time you is things change. So if you have a schedule for that day, you will see, oh, today I have a lot of work to do. So that's gonna be my first priority. And then second, I have to clean up and do laundry. That's gonna be my second priority. Write it down, write it down, and make it plain. Okay. I just that's all I encourage you because I worked with 3 people today, and they all had the same issue of not knowing what to do in what order. And we worked through the anxious feelings that they were presenting with. And once I got them grounded, we discussed planning your week and prioritizing tasks. And that's what we're going to leave with tonight. Planning your week and prioritizing tasks. That's all you got to do. It's not hard, right? But it's not easy because you got to remember to do it. But what I want to leave you with this week is take care of yourself first, and then you're able to take care of the things you need to take care of next. Take care of you. Then you can take care of work. Then you can take care of family. Then you can take care of the community. But if you are not well, you would not be able to do any of those things. And that's on my mama and on my hood. Ah, I don't have a hood, but I'm hood and holistic. Okay, so that is it for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. For those catching it on the replay, we enjoy y'all. Leave your comments. Let me know, how do you prioritize your wellness? All right. How do you prioritize your tasks? Right. What takes priority for you? And be on the lookout because I have videos coming up on here. So I'm gonna do one about the mental health in the workplace and emotional intelligence and why it's important, and monitoring spirits. Monitoring spirits has been coming up a lot. And hey, Paul, monitoring spirits have been coming up a lot because there are people that we have to watch because they are out to cause you harm, and they do it through the energetic. It's a thing. So I will be talking about monitoring spirits as well. All right. On that note, y'all be well, y'all be good, and always keep it hood and holistic. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications. All right, y'all. Be well, and see you next week.